Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan, and today I'm going to be talking about Mario Kart 64. So, a real throwback for us. I think this is probably the oldest game we've ever covered, or second oldest. Pokemon Red and Blue is what I'm not sure is if that's in first place for oldest or if Mario Kart is. But I think Mario Kart will come in first or second. So that's kind of cool, getting to do a throwback like that. And yeah, as you know, I assume you've played a Mario Kart of some nature before this. If not, then you're going to get to hear about a pretty cool old game. But there's obviously not a story in this at all, so I'm going to, just talk about the game, how it's played, what the races are, that sort of deal. To do this episode, I just replayed actually the whole Grand Prix, so every set of 4 races, and so I put some little notes on them, and yeah, are just kind of my thoughts on this old game. So I guess with that, we will look at the description for this game. The description is: put the pedal to the metal in this worthy successor of the Super NES classic Super Mario Kart. With improved courses and a revolutionary head-to-head 4-player mode, Mario Kart 64 is sure to win the heart of any race-driving fan. The game includes 20 different courses filled with dips, valleys, jumps, tunnels, and bridges. Smooth and precise control will bring players back time and time again for freewheeling fun. Yeah, I think that's great. Good description. Also, I didn't know this until in the last year or two that there was a Mario Kart before this one. I didn't know that until I actually bought an SNES Classic and saw Mario Kart on there, and I was like, there was one before the Mario Kart 64? I couldn't believe it. And this one is a vast improvement to the SNES one, which, I don't know, it makes sense. It's a big upgrade of a system and stuff, but this one's much better and is really good. Is quality, and the 4 playable option in 64, having the 4 controller slots, you could play with 4 people. I remember that being lots of fun with races and otherwise. So yeah, cool, good description. A little background on the game production-wise: it's developed by Nintendo EAD, which I think this was the main development studio, I guess, within Nintendo back in the day. So they did Super Mario Bros., the original Legend of Zelda, the original Animal Crossing, stuff like that. When I was looking at the Wikipedia, it looked like mid-2000s is kind of where they kind of faded out. And I think where the new primary Nintendo studio has taken over, who's done the newest Animal Crossing and the newest Mario Kart and the newest, Breath of the Wild, stuff like that. So, been a part of a lot of good Nintendo games. So with this game, of course, it's a racing game, and you race around tracks, and you can also kind of fight each other along the way with different items you get. So here's your options for playable characters for the game. You've got Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, Toad, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Wario, and Bowser. And with them, each character kind of has attributes where they're kind of divided. Mario and Luigi are kind of your medium characters. They're not quite big, but they're not quite the fastest either. They're sort of your in the middle guys. Then Peach, Toad, and Yoshi are more speedier than other characters, but they're smaller, so they can be kind of knocked around a little easier. And then you've got Donkey Kong, Wario, and Bowser as kind of your heavies, who are big, but they're not as fast. So those are kind of your character options that you can choose when you play. And then throughout the game, there are little question mark boxes that have items in them, and you can use the items to try to derail your fellow racers. And so there's a variety of items. There's a mushroom and a super mushroom. These are basically like turbos. The super mushroom being a multiple turbo or an extended turbo kind of thing. There's a fake box, so it can be disguised as a box, and if people run into it, it's kind of like running into a wall or whatever. It knocks them out for a minute. So those can be good, especially in real life, playing with other people, trying to plant them right by the actual items. That was pretty satisfying for sure. Then you've got banana peel and string of banana peels. So these are, similar to the box, except people can see them, but you use them to kind of trip people up kind of deal. You've got a green shell and also the 3 green shells as kind of another option with those. These are shells that you can shoot at people, but they are not seeking. They won't seek it. So you can't just shoot it forward and it will go find the person it needs to hit. Instead, you have to actually aim and shoot it at them, or you may just shoot it off to kind of cause chaos in a closed corridor or something like that. So you've got that. Then you've got your red shells, which again come in single or in the 3 variety. And these are the ones that are seeking. So you might have someone in front of you and you shoot a red shell at them and it will go right to them and hit them, unless like a wall or something gets in the way, but it will follow them to hit them. Then there's the blue spiked shell. This is the first place shell. So if you get this, it will actually travel all the way to whoever's in first place and hit them. So this is an awesome item. You don't tend to get this unless you're near the end of the race. You have to be kind of in last place, second to last place kind of thing. Then you've got Boo, who is a ghost. It makes you go invisible. And also you can potentially steal an item from someone else at the same time. So you get to be invisible for a while, so you're not going to get hit by shells or whatever in that time. Then you've got Lightning. Lightning will make everyone shrink besides you. This is great both in that you will be able to pass people much easier because you're a full-sized character still and they're all little, so you're covering a lot more ground. Also, you can run people over and it squishes them, which is pretty satisfying, and it's the same as if they got hit by a shell or different things like that. It takes them out of the race. They're not moving. They need kind of reset back down to continue. So that's big. And then also you've got the star that you can get, and the star is awesome. It makes you invincible. It also makes you faster, and you can run into people and it will be similar to if you hit them with a shell or things like that. So it's a great power. With the star, lightning, and the blue shell, those are all ones that you have to be doing poorly in the race to get. So if you're in first place, you're not going to get those. And you do see that the items are at least somewhat weighted based on your position. When you're in first place, you get a lot of mushrooms and bananas and stuff like that, versus getting to get a star or something like that. So it's distributed sort of like that. If you're playing with a group of people, you have a good chance at ending up with a variety of good stuff. Or if you're playing against the computers and it's on a challenging level, I guess, or if you're losing, you're not doing well, things like that, you can end up with some of the cooler items, but it does seem like it is best when you play with a full set of people, and then there's a lot of chaos kind of going on with different people getting their abilities, which is fun. So that's, I guess, really setting the game up. This is what the game is going in. I asked a question to people on Twitter, who did they play as in Mario Kart 64? For me, I play as Donkey Kong, primarily. I like having the heavy. That's kind of been my go, is I like that if Donkey Kong's going fast enough, he can just hit someone and they'll kind of go flying. So I really like that. DK has kind of been my guy for this. There was a time growing up, and my other kind of go-to would be the opposite, is I'd probably choose Yoshi. So he was kind of my go-to on the other end, being speedier. So that's kind of my two mains, but Donkey Kong is my real main. Donkey Kong is who I use, I would say 90% of the time. But if someone took Donkey Kong, I'd probably try to go to Yoshi next. Katie on Twitter wrote in and said Bowser was her choice. Daniel on Twitter wrote in and said Yoshi. Gary on Twitter said Yoshi. Brendan on Twitter said Yoshi, or if Yoshi's taken, then they would use Peach. A on Twitter says they use Wario. Skirps on Twitter agrees and says they also use Wario. And then John on Twitter says they use Donkey Kong. So got a variety of choices there. It seems like just with that brief list from people is that people tend to go with either the fast, with Yoshi, or with one of the heavies. They kind of like that. So that's kind of interesting seeing people play that way. I'd be interested to see if anyone's a big Mario or Luigi person, that they like the mid. I've never really used too many them much at all. I've definitely stuck with either heavies or Yoshi. This has been kind of my, if I have to keep choosing kind of thing. So yeah, kind of cool. Now, what I wanted to do is take us through each of the Grand Prix. I'll talk a little bit about the course, and I can tell you how it went when I played also. So, yeah, tell you a little bit about the course, what it's like, that sort of deal. That's kind of the plan from here. So, the first Grand Prix is called the Mushroom Cup. This is the easiest of them, and as you go further, the races, each Grand Prix gets harder, and the races within each Grand Prix get harder as you go too, really. And have different unique challenges to them and all that sort of stuff. And add more to what you need to do or, skills you need to have to be better at them, sort of thing. So, Mushroom Cup, though, it starts out with the Luigi Raceway. And really, this is just a standard course. This would look like any go-kart course in real life or a real racetrack. You just do a big circle. There's a couple tunnels. That's about it. I think that this is a really good get you grounded, get you started playing kind of course. If you've never played Mario Kart, this would be a very nice one to start off in, as you're like, okay, cool, I'm getting used to racing. There's sand and then some grass around the course, and they slow you down a little bit, but not that much. Not that you're not penalized too severely for not being the best at staying on the course necessarily. So, yeah, pretty standard course. This is all good. From here, after this race, you go to Moo Moo Farm. And so this is a farm, and so it's like, it looks like mud kind of thing. It's brown dirt kind of deal. And the big kind of catch with this is it's a pretty similar, straightforward circle. But your catch is that there are parts where there are like moles, I think, that hop up out of holes during certain sections of there. So you can like try to take a shortcut, but that's where the moles are. And if a mole jumps up and it hits you, that's similar to getting hit by a shell or something like that, where it just kind of, you have to stop, you have to get reset and keep going. So there's a little bit of danger, a little bit of an obstacle that's added, but they're in kind of one section and you know where it is. So it's not surprising. It won't catch you off guard after the first lap. I guess also, actually, this is good. So every race has 3 laps. Once you finish the 3rd lap, that's the winner. Whoever gets that done first, sort of thing. And all 8 playable characters race in every race. So, like for me, I'm Donkey Kong. The other 7 are in the race with me. So, yeah, that's how that goes. So, Moo Moo Farm ups it a little bit, but not as crazy. After this, you've got Koopa Troopa Beach. At Koopa Troopa Beach, this is the beach, and they add a couple more elements to this. In it, there's a couple ramps you can jump off of that can, move you a little further, but they're like skateboard ramp kind of things, where it's like you're not, like jumping over vast spaces typically, but more are just like smaller hops of sorts. There's also crabs that are on the beach that move a little bit, but again, similar to anything else, if you hit them, it resets you. You have to get going. So you don't want to run into the crabs that are on the beach. That kind of make some potential shortcuts risky. Also, in this one, there's a secret passage that if you jump one of the ramps, you'll actually cut across the map. But to do it, I think you either have to use a mushroom or a star to be able to make the jump and have it land. Otherwise, if you try to do the jump and you don't make it, you'll hit it and you'll fall and everyone will pass you. So it's a risky proposition. I imagine that throughout all the other races, there are secret passages too. I just don't remember them, and this one's pretty obvious. But I assume the other ones do have some as well. I just am not sure what they are offhand. So, but there probably are more. So Koopa Troopa Beach, and then the final race in the Mushroom Cup is the Calamari Desert. This one's cool. This might be my favorite one, actually. My favorite race course, even though there are other ones that are harder and are cool. I like this one just because I like the deserty look. I think that looks cool. But then also there's a train that goes by, that goes through the track, and there's something that I find really satisfying in if I like just make the train, but everyone else misses it, or they get hit by the train, and I just am going. When I've played this, there's been times where I'll almost have like a full minute on my lap because the people behind me got destroyed and I made it way ahead. Or on a Patreon episode, Jordan and I had went to a barcade and we played some Mario Kart, and on this racetrack, I got fucked and got hit by the train, and then got caught by the train like 2 or 3 times. And I was so far in last place that everyone's like lap for that round was like 2 minutes, and mine was like 3:30. Like it was a wreck that time. So it was pretty funny. But so yeah, cool track again. Mushroom Cup really gives you a lot of basics, but then does mild tweaks as you go to make the game a little more challenging for you. So that's Mushroom Cup. The results of that race was I got first place as Donkey Kong, Yoshi ended up in second place, and Luigi got third place. So Yoshi and Luigi, I think, were my rivals every race during this one too. Like we all ended up in like first, second, third for every race. It was like they were always behind me kind of thing, in that, or passing me occasionally kind of thing. So we had a battle going on for sure. The next Grand Prix is called the Flower Cup. The Flower Cup has, again, same thing, 4 courses. You've got Toad's Turnpike, you've got Frappe Snowland, you've got Choco Mountain, and you have Mario Raceway. So first up is Toad's Turnpike, and this is really just a highway with cars on it. And so this course is challenging in that you have a lot of objects going through the race courses. You know, there's like semis and cars. Sometimes you'll be on a stretch of road and it's 3 lanes most of the way. Sometimes it opens up or gets smaller occasionally, but for the most part, you've got 3 lanes. And so sometimes you'll end up in a spot where it's like semi on one side, car on the other. And you're like, okay, I can't drift. Like, and, you know, hopefully no one, you know, throws a banana peel in front of me or something like that. So it creates a pretty good challenge in that you've got a lot of objects that you can hit and then, you know, be hurt by. And, you know, stop moving and all that. So there's some challenge in that. Also in this one, I think all of the item boxes are kind of on the, on like the pull-off lane. So you actually have to kind of move a little bit out of the race to grab items and then come back in. It's worthwhile doing, but it does give you kind of a chance to get past potentially. And, you know, if there are cars in a certain area, that could make getting items not possible or make it likely for you to get hurt or whatever. So it's an interesting course for sure. And I think is a good way to start off the Flower Cup saying, yep, this course is a little bit harder. Next up is Frappe Snowland, and this is your first winter course that you arrive in. The big thing for this one, though, is that there are snowman obstacles kind of throughout, so similar to like the crabs or, you know, different things like that, stationary objects that you can run into. But they're all over in certain sections of the map. I also would say that snowmen look kind of scary. They look like evil snowmen to me, which I guess if they're obstacles, then they kind of are. But yeah, that I would say that's mostly this one. I remember this course giving me a lot of headache as a child, not being that good at it, but I was actually all right at it this time. It was fine. So maybe my fears were not deserved. Next up is Choco Mountain. The big differences for this one is there are hard walls. So you've got, in a lot of the courses before this, if you were kind of drifty and like get outside of the course a little bit, you might be penalized some. But these ones with the hard walls, you'll like bounce off of them if you like careen into them too fast. So you are held more accountable for you need to stay inside the course, which is a good adjustment. Also within it, you've got these boulders that fall down at one section of the map where a couple boulders fall down, which can squish you and, again, set you back big time. Overall, this one, also being Choco Mountain, it's all like dark brown kind of thing. So chocolate, I would assume, is its inspiration. I do remember as a kid, I thought it looked like poop, and so I always thought of it as Poop Mountain. But yeah, rocks fall. Otherwise, though, not too crazy of a course. I would say this is maybe the easiest one on this one. Maybe second easiest, but it's one of the easier ones, I would say, that in this Grand Prix. Next up, the last race is Mario Raceway. And I feel like one of the best ways to describe this is it's almost an inverse of the Luigi one in the last one. So your course, I think most of your courses you end up, what it feels like is you're going right ways around the racetrack. This one feels like you're going left ways, which I think I'm supposed to be saying clockwise and counterclockwise, but whatever. So it does feel like that. It feels a little goofy, but within it, your big thing that you have there's flowers as obstacles, like in the Mario games that would, go up through the green pipe and try to get you. You've got those kind of sitting around the map, and if you run into them, they'll, knock you out. You also have the grass slows you down a lot more in this than other ones. So if you fade off your track too much, you will get slowed down. You'll get punished for that. But overall, it does look a lot like a regular racetrack. There are just some minor obstacles to it. I would say it's it makes sense that it's sort of the advanced version of the Luigi one. So that's that race. And the results for this Grand Prix for me was I got first place again as Donkey Kong. And then Mario and Yoshi actually tied for second. So they were kind of neck and neck with each other and pretty close behind me. So tough competition all around. Moving to the third Grand Prix. This is Star Cup. Star Cup has Wario Stadium, Sherbert Land, Royal Raceway, and Bowser's Castle. And first off, you've got Wario Stadium, and this is really kind of a dirt bike style arena. That's what it really looks like to me. It looks a lot like that. It has one big jump in it where you jump over like air, where, if you missed your jump, that would be bad. It's also got hard walls, so I would think similar to kind of Choco Mountain in that regard. So this one, and there's a lot of like little jumps. So there's a lot going on in this course, I would say. But not any main primary obstacles, but just your course is getting more challenging for sure. And it has a little more elements to it. So that's Wario Stadium. Next up is Sherbet Land. This one is also one I remember being bad at as a kid. And I would say that still held true. I wasn't great at this course. This was harder for me. Your big obstacle in this is there are moving penguins. So there's two types of penguins on this course. There are ones that take a few steps and then belly flop and glide across the section of ice they're on. As you would expect, if you get hit by one of them, that stops you. It's not good. And then there's also, in another section, penguins that are kind of going in a circle around a pillar of ice. There's two of them, and they're almost like ring around the rosying kind of thing around that. And if you get hit by them, again, same thing. It really throws you off course. You've got that. Also, this is, I think, the first time you don't have a guardrail for a good portion of your course, which is that you have this ice course, but on your left side, there's frozen water. And so if you fall in there, then you need to drug out and set back into the race. So you can't just move far enough away that you can avoid the penguins. You do have to kind of navigate that with, I'm not going to run into them, they're not going to run into me, but I'm also not going to fall off the map. So you do have some more added challenge here, for sure. And yeah, you've got that going on. Next up is Royal Raceway. I would say that this is a pretty standard course. There's a couple parts that are a little curvy, but for the most part, I would say that this is, again, maybe your evolution of the Luigi Raceway, of the Mario Raceway. It still kind of builds on that, except your big thing here is that there's a really large ramp where you get like a speed up meter, then it's regular course for a second, and then you've got another big speed up meter heading into like a jump across a giant river section. This big jump is cool. For me, this was a part that was really satisfying when you play as you're getting to the big jump, trying to knock your opponents down behind you, like maybe shooting a green shell backwards or dropping bananas or whatever, because if you could get them to screw up the jump, they could fall into the water and it would just set them way back. So that I found pretty satisfying when I could pull that off. So I like this raceway quite a bit. I think this one's a lot of fun with those things in mind. And then last up is Bowser's Castle. And this race is challenging, in my opinion. So you go through the castle. Your obstacles are, you've got these moving blocks that are going around. You've got some that go up and down. So if it's timed right, it could squish you, or it can fall down in front of you and you run into it and you get stopped. And then there's other blocks that move left, right. So that can also happen where you're going to your spot, and if the block hits you, it might knock you off course. It might just slow you down. There's quite a few options as to what can happen. So again, added challenges for this. You've also got a couple parts where you're non-guardrailed bridges. Like there's at least one wood bridge I remember because I fell off of it. But you can fall into lava. It would be similar to falling into water where you need pulled out and people can pass you and all of that. I found this race pretty challenging. I was not very good at it. I think the first time I did it, I got like 7th place. I did really bad and had to replay it to be able to finish it. So this one, this is where I definitely felt the skill jump for sure, is in the Star Cup. I had a harder time on this one with Sherbet Island and Bowser's Castle. I think both of those I maybe got. I think to go forward, you have to get in the top 4. So I think I got 4th place in maybe each of those or something like that. Like, it was definitely challenging. So the results for this race, actually, this Grand Prix ended up being Peach got 1st place, I got 2nd place as Donkey Kong, and Wario got 3rd place. So, yeah, this one was a little more challenging. Some of those races were not with my skill set, for sure. Last up is the Special Cup. Special Cup has DK's Jungle Parkway, Yoshi Valley, Banshee Boardwalk, and Rainbow Road. So first up is DK's Jungle Parkway. This one, I would say, again, is pretty similar to the previous raceways before it, Mario Luigi Raceway, the Royal one. I would say it's kind of the Donkey Kong version of that. So this one, you've got a big jump on it also. Not as big as the Royal Raceway one, but similar. And for similar reasons, I enjoy it. If you can screw someone up before their jump, it's very satisfying. And another thing that's different in this is you've got these coconuts that will kind of shoot at you if you go off of the course. So if you get outside the lane, you'll actually get shot with the coconuts to go back in. So they don't exactly slow you down, but they kind of force you sideways, which I guess it does ultimately slow you down, but it's a little different than like having the grass slow you down or a wall knock you over or whatever. So that's kind of an interesting take in that. This is definitely the easiest race in the Special Cup. I like it. It's a pretty good race. Next up is Yoshi Valley. And this one's big thing is that you can't see what place anyone is in. So everyone in the races, it will tell you, you're in first place or you're in 7th place. And, Yoshi's in first place or whatever. In this race, everyone's question marks. So you don't actually know what place you're in. And also, even the directions for the course are not clear. Like when you go to your first pool, you can go left or right, and then there's a couple ways you can get to do the race. And you don't know what place you're in, so you're, kind of nervous and you're not sure. This race I did not do well in. I think the first time I played it, I got like 5th or 7th or something like that. I didn't do well, so it made me retry it, and then I got 3rd. So I got there, but to be able to move forward. But this race was challenging at first for sure for me. There's just a lot going on. Not knowing what place you're in is a lot harder than I thought it would be. I really didn't like not knowing because a lot of times, if I get out to first place or whatever like that, then I play a pretty defensive kind of thing. I'll just hold some shells behind me and not pick up items for a while. And, if you try to pass me, I'll move towards you. And, if I get you with if you run into one of my shells, that's great. And if not, you're going to stay behind me kind of thing. So this was hard because you weren't sure what place you were in. And, I did figure as I was going that first time that I wasn't in a good place because I got lightning, I got a star, like I got some of the good items, so I was like, I'm probably not doing well. But I didn't know where I was, so that was cool. That's a cool gimmick. Makes it sound bad, but cool gimmick for this. I thought it was fun. Next up is the Banshee Boardwalk. This one, you can fall off the edges, similar to Bowser's Castle, where there's just no guardrails. So there's several options to fall down for sure. And also there are bats as obstacles. So if you, when you go through some corridors, a bunch of bats will fly out at you and kind of act as your, can slow you down or move you kind of thing. So you do have some challenges that you can face along the way. Similarly, for me, this one was not one I did well at either. I think I got a non-placing spot, 5th or 8th or something like that at first, and I had to redo it, and then I got 4th to move on. I didn't do very well at this one either. This was not my one I did well at. It was challenging for me for sure. And then last up is Rainbow Road, and there's a couple unique things about this. One is this is the longest race in the game. Like every lap takes a while. Most of the laps in these games are 2 to 3 minutes. These ones felt much longer. I should have looked at the time, but it felt a lot longer. It felt like a very long race to me. By the time I finished one lap was how long I feel like most races would have 2 laps be. It's a really long course. So you've got that. Also, Rainbow Road is hard to look at. It's hard to kind of see, I would say. So, the racetrack is all rainbow, and then you've got kind of neon hologrammy type signs of all the characters around the raceway as you do it. And I don't know. I think just looking at all the colors, I don't know. It's hard to look at. It's hard to see for me. I did good and fine in this race, but it's just hard to look at, I would say. I don't know if that's anyone else's experience, but I think it can be a little hard to differentiate stuff sometimes. So that's a challenge you have. And then also you have this, I think it's a shark, but it also sort of looks like a bullet that's being shot, but it has a shark's face. So I don't know if it's just a shark or just a bullet or both. I guess maybe neither, but probably both. This bullet shark that goes though, and it goes through different parts of the course and tries to chomp you. Again, bad. It stops you in your tracks. It might destroy your item you have. Bad news bears for sure. Running into the shark. So you've got quite a bit going on in this. It's pretty trippy of a course. And that's your final race. My results for the Special Cup was Toad got first place, I got second place as Donkey Kong, and Peach got third place. I hate Toad, so that was very annoying to have him be good on these races that I was not as good at. If he would have been better at one of the older ones, it would have been a little more satisfying because I could have hurt him more, like, hit him with shells and stuff more, but I didn't get that chance. So, that's what we got. He beat me in the last one, so of course he did. He knows I didn't like him. So that is Mario Kart. So now I guess that's a recap of the courses. I'm going to move on to a couple general thoughts before we wrap up. So one general thought is that this game is still really fun. In, I don't know, elementary school or middle school, somewhere in there, that's when I had an N64, and I really loved playing this game. I had a lot of fun with it back in the day. I really enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite games, and it's still really, really fun. I had just as much fun, I felt like, playing it now as I did then. It was really enjoyable, and also, I would say it looks surprisingly good for being as old as it is. You can see that it doesn't look like great, on a TV, like it looks grainy, which I remember back then thinking, wow, this looks so good. So it is funny when you see that. But it doesn't look bad in the sense that it makes playing hard. Like, I've since gone back and played GoldenEye on the N64, because I have that as well. And the game looks like shit now and is kind of hard to navigate. Mario Kart is not that way. I feel like it is just as playable now as it was then, which is pretty impressive that it somehow looks that good. I don't know if that's just the Nintendo exclusives happen to be that way, or if just Mario Kart is. I'm not really sure. I am interested in finding out, though. I probably should play some more of the... I'd like to do, like, Super Smash Bros. Or maybe, like, Mario Tennis or something like that. That'd be fun to do someday, if I can get a copy of one of those on 64. Because if they still look good, I'm sure they would be plenty fun. But, yeah, so I would say this really holds up. If you were trying to get someone to play an N64 game who'd never played one, I think this would be a good call. Next up is, I'm not really into racing games in general, but I do like Mario Kart quite a bit. I think it's a really fun franchise. I really enjoyed playing it here. A couple months ago, I was at a friend's place and played Mario Kart 8 on their Switch before I ever had a Switch, and I never had played Mario Kart. And it was super fun, and I could win races after a little bit. After going through like one Grand Prix with them, I was like, oh, cool, I know how to play. And I had won several races after that. It was fine, which is pretty impressive, I would say, on Nintendo's part, I would say, because I haven't played a Mario Kart game since 64. So, there's probably a 15 to 20 year gap of playing Mario Kart or racing games, and, picking up a console I don't use, playing a game I haven't played in a long time, and I was able to pick it up. So that's pretty cool. I would say that's really well done, and probably makes this a really good game to intro to people who don't play games, or, if you used to play games and you want to pick one back up, I'm sure playing Mario Kart 8 now, or if you wanted to play 64, that'd be cool too. But that's kind of cool. That's I don't know, that's special. I don't know if there's a lot of games that have that much transference or whatever, so that's pretty cool. Next thing is, I didn't do this for the episode, but I remember playing the multiplayer battle modes with friends a lot growing up, and those being a lot of fun. So I didn't play them for this episode, as I didn't have anyone I could play with. So I didn't play, obviously, because of that. But the battle modes are this. So you could play up to with 4 people locally. So you'd each have your corner. And you'd each have 3 balloons on your go-kart. And you'd drive around an arena, and there'd be boxes with items. And you'd be trying to knock each other out. And so once you got hit 3 times, you were out. And then I think you'd turn into a bomb, and so you could just be an agent of chaos at that point. But you would be trying to knock other people's balloons off before they knocked yours off. And I remember having so much fun playing this as a kid that my friends would come over, or, I'd go to their house, and we'd just play for hours just doing battle mode with each other and, yelling at each other for screen looking, stuff like that. I remember it being so much fun and having such a great time on that. I wish that there was a way I could have played just against bots or something, but it wasn't set up that way. You could only race on the one-player version. But I remember battle mode being a lot of fun. And I mean, N64 I feel like had really fun local co-op anyway, but local play, doing that together was a lot of fun. But battle mode in this, lots of fun. Definitely recommended it. Definitely recommend doing it if you've got a 64 and some friends to play with. Definitely do it. It was fun. And my last thought is it was really fun to revisit this classic game. I haven't played... I mentioned that I played Mario Kart when Jordan and I went to the bar for our Patreon episode a while ago, but before that I hadn't really played Mario Kart much in years before that. And with that too being the case, is I haven't played most of the courses in this game in a really long time. I think when Jordan and I played, we just did the Mushroom Cup. We did the easy one because we were like, we haven't played. A lot of these courses I haven't played in years and years and years. Some of them I didn't even remember. I was like Banshee Boardwalk, I forgot about how hard that was. Or Yoshi Valley, I didn't remember that chaos either. So, some of them I was like, oh, wow, this is... I'd forgotten about them. And so it's cool getting to go back and do that. And yeah, I don't know if I'll go back and try to find some more 64 or other older games to play through, but that could be fun if that works out, as finding ways to throw on some classics into the show. But I guess that's my all in all on Mario Kart 64. It's an awesome game. It's a lot of fun. If you have an N64, definitely recommend playing it. It's cool. Hopefully, really, with how Nintendo did the NES Classic and SNES Classic, if they did one for 64, that would be so sweet. That'd be really cool. So hopefully they do that someday. That would be really enjoyable. Or even just porting them to Switch. That'd be fun to be able to play this or some of the other classic 64 games on Switch. But yeah, I guess all in all, though, that is the episode. You can get in contact with us on Twitter at StoryEverPod. You can go to our website, TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com, to get access to all our episodes that we've done before, links to any podcast apps you want to use, some blog posts about stuff. So yeah, there's some stuff on there if you'd like to check it out. If you'd like to support the podcast financially, you can do that by going to patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. There, for as little as $1 per month, if you choose to donate that, that'll give you access to episodes that we've done that are topical in nature. So, as we mentioned, in this episode, Jordan and I went to the Old North Arcade, which is a bar near us, a barcade, and played a bunch of games, and so we talked about that on that episode. We also have episodes like ranking the Life is Strange episodes, or talking about our favorite games from childhood, stuff like that. Those have been pretty fun. So if you'd like to do that, go check that out. We'd super appreciate that. If you'd like to help the podcast out but can't financially, that's totally cool. One way you could do that is by going to Apple Podcast and rating and reviewing the podcast, or just sharing a link with a friend or something. We'd super appreciate that. Just helping get the word out and connecting more people who like the games that we like together. That would be awesome. That'd be a lot of fun to be able to do. So, if you'd like to do that too, that'd be awesome. And, I guess that's the episode, and we'll see you next time.